Hello and welcome to Jazz Tonight. I'm Michael Jacobi, executive producer of Jazz on the Plaz and host of Raising the Standards on KCAT Radio in Santa Cruz. Delighted to have you with us as we reach the halfway point of Jazz on the Plaz 2022 with an old friend, Marcia Ball. Hello, Miss Marcia.
Hello.
It's nice to see you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
For the life of me, I can't understand why you haven't been here since 2005.
I don't understand either.
Well, and every time I hear your voice, I said, why haven't I called her?
I lurk around the Bay Area hoping to be called.
Well, all right. You leave more messages. The last time you were here was 2005.
Yes.
And it was during Katrina.
Yes.
We'll talk a little bit about that. But one of the great moments, and I've booked 200 artists here over 20 years. One of the great moments was your singing as Katrina was in the midst of Louisiana 1927, the Randy Newman song.
Right.
That song has special meaning to you.
It does for many, many reasons.
Perhaps you could share a few.
Well, I first heard it in the 70s when that record came out, when Good Old Boys came out. And of course, everybody who heard it was just struck by how appropriate it was and how, based on true history. And so it was moving. And so many, many bands in Louisiana did it, which meant that I actually didn't take it up. And then there is another, there's a rule. When Aaron Neville sings a song, you really don't cover that. Yeah. That's done. But we were playing in Kansas City in the 90s, and there was a threat of flood, which ultimately happened. And the river was, high, and everybody was almost looking over their shoulders as we played. And I did that song for the first time. At a show.
Isn't it interesting how many songs are about floods? I mean, 5 Feet High and Rising, Johnny Cash tune.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just it's part of.
When the levee breaks.
Yeah. Well, interesting about that flood. 700,000 people were homeless, and the vast majority of which were poor people, and there was a great deal of controversy over the levees. Hadn't been built correctly, and a lot of graft and funds going to the wrong places in Louisiana and Mississippi.
Yeah, what happened too was that they made a deal with New Orleans and with the people below New Orleans to break the levee there and flood their land and promised reparations, which of course they didn't. And it turns out New Orleans was actually not by that time in danger of flooding. They just didn't want it to have the appearance of that. There's a great book about it.
Okay. And let me do my usual disclaimer. We're going to talk about what a wonderful night tonight will be, and it will be as Marcia graces us at Jazz on the Plaz. However, by the time you see this, it will just be a memory to you, and I hope you were here, and there, as the case may be. But I must tell you, if you have never heard Marcia Ball sing, I envy you. You're in for a remarkable treat. And your shows have been, we talked about this on my radio show, and this is, I'm sure you have a great publicist writing, but your shows have been described as live roadshow parties.
Yeah.
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 That's it.
My guitar player will tell a story. He says it's not hard to get a song to me to play. He said all you have to do is have the word party and a food item in the title, and I'll write the rest of the song for you.
Fondue party. Your guitar player is
Michael Sherman.
Sherman, who has played here.
Mighty Mike.
He is wonderful and plays with our buddies out at the Poorhouse a lot.
Yep.
Good guy. Let's talk a little bit about your roots. The word Arcadian, I'm not sure everybody understands the reference to that culture.
Well, it's Acadian, or L'Acadien, and they're the people who were in Nova Scotia and eastern Canada, the islands, and in 1750s, when the British took over from the French, they basically put people on boats, separated families, left some behind, hauled off a lot of others, and dropped them along the coast of the not even United States of America yet, into the colonies. And a number of them made their way from there, from Acadia, which was what that was, to Louisiana, which was a French colony at the time. Some went to France and then came to Louisiana. Some came to Caribbean islands and then to Louisiana, but they made their way down.
There's a North Carolina culture, as you say, along the colonies, and Cajun. How does that?
That's just L'acadian. That's Acadian.
That's the same thing.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a slurred form of not a slur like bad. There's another word that that only we can call each other.
Yeah.
But Cajun is just a way of saying L'acadian.
Yeah. Was Hank Williams Cajun?
No, he was a Mississippian though.
But I guess jambalaya, everybody has.
Yeah, and there's some talk about who all wrote that song.
Oh, is there?
It could have been that Link Davis Sr. had a hand in writing that, and he was Cajun.
Now, you were born in Louisiana.
Actually,
or were you born in Texas?
I know.
You were born in Texas, but you were right on the right on the border.
Yeah, my hometown was right on the state line. Like, here's my hometown, and there's Orange, Texas hospitals over here. All the parties are over here. All the bars are here, right?
Good,
Orange, Texas, and Vinton, Louisiana, and so there was the hospital, and here were all the nightclubs and honky tonks. Yeah. And then all my people, I'm deeply Louisiana rooted, deeply Acadian.
Mom a great cook?
Yes.
Are you a great cook?
Yeah. I'm darn good.
What do you do?
Well, I do my Cajun specialties, pretty well. I can do all that, and I don't know. I'm not a adventurous or complicated cook. I just like to cook a nice square meal.
So you grew up. Yeah, we had talked the other day. Your folks both played piano?
My grandmother played
piano. Your grandmother
piano.
played.
And my aunt played piano. And my dad played the same baritone horn that his grandfather had played.
Okay. And so a lot of music in the house.
A lot of music
in the house. What kind of recorded music?
We didn't have a lot of records. We had early 78s. We had Fats Domino and a lot of Louisiana 78s. And then we had Dinah Washington, I remember. We had Ray Charles, and we had James Brown live at the Apollo.
Did you ever see James Brown?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet that was special.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was a piece of work. Speaking here, and you realize it's flow of consciousness in a moment, but the interesting story about Fats Domino, you know how Chubby Checker got his name?
Yeah.
Because Dick Clark's wife said, well, there's a Fats Domino.
Oh, okay.
Or am I right on this? Or is
well,
there
I don't
story?
know, but
It could be like American Pie.
I don't know who named him, but I knew it was related to that. And then there's the great piano player from out here, Floyd Domino.
Yeah, that's true.
Took his name from Floyd Kramer and Fats Domino.
That's true. We're talking to Marcia Ball, who's at Jazz on the Plaza, hails from Austin these days. We'll talk more specifically about her career and her memoir, which is fascinating and has a great ending. We'll talk about after the break. I was trying to take a moment and a big thank you to the folks at the Willow Street family of restaurants, including Willow Street Pizza and, of course, Main Street Burgers, for sponsoring the show. We thank them for that, and we'll be back to Jazz Tonight in just a second. So we're here on the set of Jazz Tonight, Jacobi with you, and we wanted to take a minute to thank our sponsors, the Willow Street family of restaurants, and to get to know them a bit. Now we all know them, but perhaps what you don't know, this is the principal owner, Ed Rathman. Hello, Eddie.
Nice to see you, Mike.
Good to see you. It's like, it's my favorite restaurant in town. First of all, Willow Street, you guys are such an icon in Los Gatos. You've and such an integral part of the community. And on behalf of the community and the fundraising people in this town, I want to thank you publicly in front of God and everyone, who's a big fan, by the way. That having been said, what year did you open here?
1993.
So you opened the year before the World Cup.
Yeah, and it kind of put us on the map.
My
did.
God, I remember you couldn't cross the street. Behind us, of course, is Willow Street. You couldn't cross the street from Willow Street to Hannigan's.
No, it was wall-to-wall people, and the Brazilians were wonderful. It really was one big party for 3
How
or 4
many
nights.
of your servers were proposed to? A lot. Well, you know, it's amazing. Someone said to me once the difference between Americans and Brazilians, when Americans get drunk, they riot. When Brazilians get drunk, they party.
That's true. One Brazilian said to me, "You Americans say no, no, no.
Yeah,
Us Brazilians say yes, yes, yes."
So, as you say, that kind of puts you on the map. You had your original location is in Willow Glen.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
And what was your, you know, when you started Willow Glen, I guess 91, and what was the philosophy? Obviously, there was a California Pizza Kitchen existed. What were you looking to do?
You know, to be honest, that we saw their success and it was inspiring, but I had come from more of a fine dining background, and I wanted to bring some of the benefits of fine dining down to a little bit casual dining atmosphere. And I didn't want white tablecloths, didn't want candles, and I just wanted really good food at reasonable prices.
So you run into somebody at a party, you got like 15 seconds to describe Willow Street. How do you do it?
Great wood-fired pizza, pasta, salads, nice atmosphere, very casual dining, great service, fun atmosphere.
Wow, 15 seconds. That's good. Willow Street wood-fired pizza and Main Street Burgers, the Willow Street family of restaurants, and we're so thankful that they're sponsoring Jazz Tonight. Welcome back to Jazz Tonight. Jacobi with you with Marcia Ball on the way from the hotel. First of all, thank you for coming on the show today. You are what Chuck Berry described as you move around like a wayward summer breeze.
Ah.
And you have been a little busy.
Yeah.
And actually, you got some gigs coming up. I don't know when this is going to show, but you do spend a lot of time in the Bay Area. And,
Yeah, as much as I
you're at
can.
San Francisco Jazz later on at the
Yeah.
Quamba in Santa
Yeah,
Cruz.
we've played in Rancho Nicasio,
Yeah.
a lot, Freight and Salvage,
Yeah.
a lot of the clubs, Slims in the old days.
Yeah, very cool. So how did it come together? When in terms of, did you have an epiphany one morning? You goes, I think I'll sing the blues, or I'll sing some local songs.
Well, it's what I grew up with.
And you sang as a kid, though, right?
No, I didn't sing a lick until I got to college.
Oh, okay.
And because I always thought all the music that we had, all the sheet music and the records, all the women sang high.
Yeah.
They were, sopranos, and I was definitely an alto.
Yeah.
And so nothing ever fit, so I really didn't think I could sing. So I met somebody in college who was playing guitar, and I had my little guitar, and she recruited me to sing harmony with her, and all of a sudden I realized, well, I can carry a tune and I can find a harmony. So off we went. But then I met the local hippies in Baton Rouge. I was at LSU. Met the local hippies, and they were putting together a band, and they asked if I wanted to try out, and I did, and I got in.
Were you with a band called Gum?
That was Gum. That was Gum. You know what?
You told me that the other
there
day.
are two or three alumni of Gum probably right out here in the Bay
Really?
Area right now.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, the guitar player. The way I ended up in Austin was when that band broke up, when Gum broke up, one of the guitar players moved to Austin and the other moved out here to San Francisco. And we were actually coming to San Francisco with flowers in our hair. And we stopped in Austin and never left.
Yeah.
So
LSU, that's a very cool campus.
also mentioned by Randy Newman.
Yes, absolutely. It was Archie Manning was the LSU.
Yeah, and Pete Maravich.
Pete Maravich, you're right, was there as well, and then the kid from a couple of years ago, Trevor Lawrence. He was fun. So you did you start out in Gum and the other rock and roll bands? Playing a keyboard?
No, I was screaming rock and roll, and it was while
Janis with an accent.
Janis and Grace Slick and Jimi Hendrix, and we covered all that. Plus, Slim Harpo was living across the river in Port Allen. And Tabby Thomas and Rayful Neal were living in Baton Rouge and playing. Irma Thomas was there. And I grew up also going to New Orleans a lot because my other grandmother lived there. And I saw Irma when I was 13. And that just marked me. So we had all of that flowing through us. And so I followed whatever band was doing whatever they were doing. So that was a rock and roll band. Then I moved to Austin, and I kind of fell into a deal where I was singing country music with a band, and this was what they call progressive country. This is when Asleep at the Wheel was starting out, and Commander Cody was, you know, we were just so jealous. It was kind of when the Byrds did Sweetheart of the Rodeo. So the hippies, the long hairs were doing country music, and we got right in the middle of that.
And speaking of country, have you seen the Ken Burns series?
Oh yeah.
God, is that wonderful?
Yeah.
And the Chris Christopherson stuff is just extraordinary.
Yeah. I saw Janice.
Oh.
In 1970, I'd moved there in 70 in the spring. I was working at the university, and we heard there was going to be a birthday party for this old man who had mentored Janice. Kenneth Threadgill was his name. Mentored her at his bar. She would come in and play her auto harp and sing. And the rumor was she was going to fly in. And it was at what they call a party barn out on the edge of town. And probably several thousand people showed up there. And there was a little stage outside. And she played Me and Bobby McGee and Sunday Morning Coming Down.
Oh my God.
Which none of us had ever heard before.
Wow.
They were brand new.
Well, that'll shake your world.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw The Highwaymen together, which was one of the great shows I've seen. Of course, Chris Christopherson, Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, and who am I leaving
Willie?
out? Willie, of course, Willie.
Don't leave out
Willie,
Willie.
Willie, it really scared me. It was a couple years ago. He was on a Grammy show, and his voice was absolutely gone. And now he's back, and God bless him, and he's still touring.
Yeah.
He still does like 3 hours.
Have you ever heard Lucas, his son?
Yeah, I think I've seen him with Willie. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. We talked about on the ride over, you were working on your memoir.
Oh, yeah.
And you were saying you were boring the hell out of yourself.
I bored myself finally. I started out chronologically, childhood, growing up, college, getting in the band, another band, another band, another band. And by the time I got to 1980, I was boring myself.
And what were you going to sum up with?
I was going to say, and then we played 4,000 gigs, the end.
And so it goes. I love that.
So I'm going to revamp the process.
Well, after tonight's show, and by the time people see this program, your Google ears will be ringing as people search you. Can they buy product online?
Yes, marciaball.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they send it to you, will you sign it?
Yeah, or if they order it and tell
you can
them,
autograph it.
Yeah.
How many albums do you have?
I think about 17.
Really? That's good. Are you with, who are you with? Recording?
I'm with Alligator.
Oh, that's okay.
I've been
and
with
they're
Bruce
one of
Flower.
They're a good label because I get a lot of email from them, and they're like one of the old time labels that actually supports you.
Yes, the independent, one of the original independent labels. I mean, along with Blind Pig, and before that I was with Rounder, and they're the other independent. They were the more folk, and until Scott Billington, their producer, who has a wonderful new memoir out, came down to Louisiana and started mining the talent in Louisiana. He produced Johnny Adams and Walter Wolfman Washington and Irma and all the Cajun bands, Nathan and the Cha-Chas and all these great bands. So that was my years with Rounder, and then I went with Alligator when I I guess, went a little more bluesy. But although Rounder let me do anything I wanted.
My friend Chris Kane's on Alligator. He's such a good guy. And a good friend of Michael Schwimmer will be there tonight. Well, I'm just delighted to have you back. You got anything on your bucket list waiting? I mean, you want to do a live album? Have you got some things of your own you've written you want to do?
I just would like to get ready, get moving again. You know, a pandemic was a loss of momentum that I'd always feared. And so, you know, I'm pushing toward writing again. I'll tell you what else, though, I did during the pandemic. I have a writer friend who had a play, and he's very well known. He's a Pulitzer Prize winning author who wrote a play about Texas politics.
Oh, really?
And then he wanted to make it a musical. So we started writing songs. And then when the live performance shut down, Broadway, everything shut down, he expanded it to be a podcast, which means he said instead of 90 minutes, it was, you know, 6 hours, 4 hours or something. So we wrote 50 more, you know, we wrote a whole bunch of more songs. And that's what I did during the pandemic, was write songs about Texas politics and all these characters that Lawrence Wright has written. And now he has turned that whole story into a novel.
That's so cool.
That'll be his next little project out. He's a New Yorker, you know, longtime New Yorker writer.
So you took the time during the pandemic and actually creatively did something of value, and I watched Ozark. So pretty much kind of sums it up.
I will tell you that what I usually say at my gigs is that my one song I wrote about my pandemic experience was called "I Took to Drinking."
Yeah, indeed. I nearly ran out of lines. The great Marcia Ball. That is Jazz Tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next week, I'm Jacobi. I'll see you soon. Back to Jazz Tonight. We're going to take a moment to get to know our sponsor, the Willow Street family of restaurants, which of course includes Willow Street Los Gatos, here in Main Street Burgers. With us, Ed Rathman, the principal owner. Hello, Edward.
Hi, Michael.
It's good to see you, and great burger place, Main Street, which is, I mean, you had Willow Street for what, 15, 20 years before you opened Main Street?
12, 15 years, something like that.
And then and Main Street is right on the corner.
Right on the corner.
A hop, skip, and a burger.
We like to think the best corner in Los Gatos.
We like to think that as well. So how did that all come together? Now now every corner has a burger place.
It does.
But there was a time.
There was a time, we've been open 17 years, where there weren't any, quote, gourmet burger places around. I mean, you had McDonald's, you had Burger King, but you didn't really have high quality, little more pricey than McDonald's, but just really good quality burgers where people actually thought of the bun and the meat and the quality involved in putting it together.
Restaurants like Gott's, places like that, was that Napa originally?
There was one in Napa at the time, yeah.
And that was it. I think there might have been a couple of places in the city.
Maybe some places in the city, but nowhere in the valley here.
So when you say think about the meat and think about the bun, I hate the word Angus, but you do.
Yeah, we do Angus, sourced, really quality, natural beef.
Was it at Neiman Ranch? You still do that?
No, we used to, but we have a similar quality one now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you also, but it's like McDonald's says, give me the meat, give me some tomatoes. I mean, you have the same attention to detail where you get the tomatoes from, where you get your lettuce from.
Yeah, and the combination of putting it together. I mean, sometimes, you'll have a burger and it just doesn't work. I mean, the ingredients are good, but the parts, some of the parts add up to nothing special. Yeah. And we spend a lot of time, thinking about the burgers we create and tasting them and making sure people are going to like them.
Full disclosure, I do some marketing for you guys, and the amount of time you spend on finding the right bun is incredible.
Yeah.
But it makes such a difference.
Yeah, and we also have the classic complement of handmade milkshakes that most people don't do anymore. Real ice cream, milk in a blender. It's a lot of work
Yeah.
and takes a lot of time, but boy, they're delicious.
And I should also send my kudos to you both for Main Street and for Willow Street, where so many restaurants, their menus are written in stone, they're chiseled and don't change. You guys are constantly evolving, and I admire that.
You know, I kind of feel like if you don't keep moving forward and trying new things, you're going to sink. And we keep trying to evolve and improve what we're doing.
Main Street Burgers, simply put, the better burger. Thank you, Eddie.
Thanks, Mike.